To an announcement by the presiding member. Every month I give a speech, and I'd like to welcome the community here this evening. I'm delighted to see so many of you here tonight, and I have an urgent matter that I'd like to discuss with all of you. Last week, through the ABC, I was notified of our water situation at the City of Nedlands. Not by a city officer. No one informed the Mayor of this issue. However, evidently, it was on our city website. The call from the ABC was the first that I'd heard of it, and for councillors as well, I've since found out. We heard that we only have 5% of our bore water remaining for the City of Nedlands. It's not hard to comprehend. We've experienced 6 months of drought and little rain. And indeed, we do only have 5% of our bore water allocation. And on the 30th of May, all our bore taps will be turning off for 3 months. But what I'd like to talk to you tonight is about the ravages of climate change and how it will be the community who is set to suffer the most. These past few days, your anxiety over the climate may have eased with some rain. And I'm glad you might be feeling a little better and that the birds have had a drink. But tonight, I'd like to call you all to action. As a mayor and as a community leader, it is my role to alert the community to threats. And our community is not only the 22,000 magnificent people who live in the City of Nedlands, but also the birds, the black carnabes, the owls, the family of bottlenose dolphins, the stunning wildlife, the trees who have no voice, and our young people. I'd like to talk to you about climate change, which is directly caused by human intervention, the result of greed, envy, and misinformation, a lag to switch to renewable energy due to the powerful, greedy, vested interests. We've had the data for decades, but we continue on a business as usual trajectory. I would like the community to know that we are all boiling like stupid, naive frogs in a hot pool of boiling water, and the water is getting hotter and hotter. It is happening before our eyes. And many of you believe it will be okay. Well, not at this point, if we continue the way we are going. While we are a local government in Nedlands, this is true. What would we know? Yet we're all connected now. We live in a globalised world, a floating bubble which is Earth. We share the same air, the same carbon levels and the same pollution. Local government is community government. It is the people's government. But sadly, as governments here in Australia at a state and federal level and overseas governments fail to take real action on the greatest collective action problem of mankind, I would like you to all know tonight, it is the community who will bear the brunt of climate change. What we are going through at Nedlands with our bore water restrictions and allocations is just a small dose of the destruction that is to come. After 3 years of immersing myself in the minutiae of local government, meeting people, meeting the community, meeting mayors all around the world, it is my belief, actually it's a conviction, that our biggest threat to life as we know it is climate change. The greatest collective action problem of mankind, coupled with the uneducated and ill-informed politicians who continue on a business as usual trajectory. Not to mention, and I will allege, their partnership with the powerful fossil fuel industry and their greenwashing tactics, who put greed and their own comfort and profits before life itself. For me, as the mayor, and I am only one of 15% of female mayors globally, I would like you all to know loud and clear that the extremes we're witnessing right now are a starter for the hell that is about to come. The World Meteorology Society declared in 2023 it was the hottest year ever recorded in history. However, I believe that 2024 will be even hotter. As I see the dying wildlife in our city, the epic temperatures in February, the power loads on the electricity outlets, the rabbits who died in my garden, the dismay as world leaders and politicians fail to take action, and the community, and we have a super educated one, is left wondering, will it impact me? Will I be alive to see this? And the truth is yes, you will be alive to see this. Almost 1 year ago, the UN President, Secretary General of the United Nations, declared the era of global warming has ended and global boiling has arrived. People might think it funny, the epic heat, the warm weather in winter, the sweating shirts, the she'll be right mate, as we listen to the diatribe of the fossil fuel executives and their political pawns as we aim for a ludicrous net zero. Let me tell you about net zero. Net zero is absolute fiction. The idea that we should be aiming for net zero is a deceit of all mankind. The concept that fossil fuel companies can pollute endlessly and buy offsets, thousands and millions of acres of seedlings so that their business can continue, the concept must be real zero. And this is what we must aim for. I shudder in horror at our current levels of carbon dioxide. Daily they rise. Statewide, our emissions are also rising. I stand in horror at the inability of the politicians to act. We are one of the most affluent countries in the world, and we have a state environment minister who thinks gas is okay. No need to set emissions targets by 2030. We are the only state in this country not to set emissions targets by 2030. Why? Why? I will allege that we have a state government who skips merrily into the hands of the fossil fuel companies. The idea that gas needs to be a transition fuel, that our state emissions must rise as we help other countries transit to a green economy, this is greenwashing. Gas is made of methane. A greenhouse gas is way more potent than carbon dioxide and a dangerous contributor to climate change. Australia is the world's largest exporter of gas. The idea is needed for renewables is totally untrue. Gas represents 10% of China's energy supply, so only a fraction of WA gas can be claimed to be used for renewables. The government should be heeding the advice of scientists and keep fossil fuel in the ground. Indeed, there is a cost to me and to others to remain silent. The cost is life as we know it. It will be gone as we hurtle to an estimated 3 degrees of global warming. A cost where this city of Nedlands will become unlivable. Councillors talk a lot about democracy. Well, let me tell you, there will not be democracy when we get to 3 degrees of global warming. It is difficult to predict the devastation, but what I do know is that there will not be democracy, and this building may not be standing. Land will be non-arable, oceans will dry up, full of salt with no life. Migration will be our biggest enemy, as billions of people south of the equator seek shelter in arable lands, which are only Tasmania and the South Island of New Zealand. The greatest threat to our community at the City of Nedlands is the reprehensible inaction on climate change. Tonight is a tough speech. It's a bitter pill to swallow. I keep talking about being wealthy, how we need to be rich to wear the impacts of what is hurtling towards us. But this will only last so long. We are the 9th most affluent local government in Australia, and this will not protect us from climate change. And this is what I want to stress, that it doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter if Daddy owns a gas mine, no one will cope with climate change. Globally, Australia has an opportunity to be a renewable energy superpower, which will set this country up for multiple generations. However, this now easy transition is being downplayed by vested interests with a criminal disregard for science and morality. I'm tired of the boomers. I'm tired of the silent generation telling me they don't believe in climate change and that gas is a good thing. Oh, and the weather is always like this. Well, no, it is not. The evidence is indisputable. The current levels of carbon dioxide are the highest they have ever been in 1.7 million years. And today I am horrified to announce that they are now 423 parts per million of carbon dioxide and rising. Tonight, as your mayor, as the only twice elected female in the history of this city and the only popularly elected mayor in 3 decades, I would like you all to know that your city is dying. It will become impossible to live here. The truth is, the burning of fossil fuels, the support from the state government for fossil, the trillions of dollars of global subsidies that are given to fossil every year, the greenwashing when it comes to gas is the biggest threat to our community. We currently have a state government committed to the expansion of the very industry responsible for making our situation worse. No amount of political spin from Western Power, the Water Corp, the state government, world leaders set on keeping their jobs or worse still being elected can hide the fact that every city in the world, including the City of Nedlands, is in terminal decline. And by 2050, more than almost 90% of the world's population will live in cities. We must face the facts. Climate change is increasing and we will be unable to keep pace with the environmental devastation before us, and we will not be able to placate it for much longer. With this deadly prognosis, I'm calling on all of you councillors to lead, to get behind us, to throw dispersions aside. For the first time in 3 years, I honestly believe we can lead on this. And finally, the administration, with CEO Shannon here, will not dismiss me because I am a girl. For 3 years actually, not one thing I've fought for has come into fruition. Not one thing. We must work as a team. Every turn we make must be to protect the community, to lead to climate resilience. We must advocate, we must speak the truth. We must create pocket parks, green laneways, sustainable transport, parks, walkability, sustainable development, white roofs. We must take the POSB benefits. We must protect our trees. But ultimately, it is the community who will pay. And it is totally unfair when big fossil continues to pollute. I call on you to take immediate action. If you do not like my leadership style, if you do not believe what I've told you is the truth, if you are here for your own means or your own ego and not for the community's best interest, it's time for you all to look elsewhere. If you are a member of staff at the City of Nedlands and you continue to undermine me, to run nasty campaigns behind my back, to tell the community you hate me, you are not a friend of the city. If you are a councillor who continues to attack me, to call me a liar, to denigrate members of our community, which includes my children and my family, I encourage you to resign. I will willingly accept your resignation because we as a city are going to need every one of you on this. Every bit of fact and data, every insight, every bit of advocacy to be the best city in the world. I honestly don't know if we can make it. I used to believe we could. But if we do win, if we do manage against the odds to create a green city where people can live, we can share the fruits of our victory with other cities around the world. However, we must be united as a council, as staff and the community, as we are going to be doing this against the odds. So this is my direction moving forward. The aircraft or the bus is leaving. And it's your time, if you are not on board with the way I approach this, to please get off. We have no choice but to lead. We have no choice but to operate in our own bubble as government and big business fails our community. It is grave. I know this speech has been depressing and you may be reeling from this information. However, my loyalty is with the people in the City of Nedlands. I am obsessed with the people of the City of Nedlands. I go to bed thinking about you at night. I'm also obsessed with air quality. I've had pneumonia 9 times and I've studied climate change and environmental law. I've also lived as a permanent resident in Asia for almost 18 years. So I've seen and lived the impacts firsthand of climate change. To a large extent, we in the City of Nedlands have been immune from this fallout. We live in what some say is a fool's paradise, but I want you all to know tonight that this is coming to an end. It's important that you are aware of this, and with the truth, you will all be better prepared. Godspeed, City of Nedlands. Thank you.